that. Meeting notes. I prepared some meeting notes. Beautiful, right? So correct date. Status demo, because I want you to see the progress on the admin theme. I follow the Gitter discussion, so I've seen things. It's crazy the amount of work that they are doing. And then some discussion about quality. Status. So this one is up to date. Not that much. So the theme, but I assume that now they're working on C+ branch, so we don't see any more update there. Update RazorViewEngineProvider. What did you break? Right, you fixed. Yes, it wasn't. Didn't break anything. Yeah, it was in case there was a controller, I think, in the theme. It was not taken. It was not found in the views.
Correct.
So that's fixed. Merges, dynamic forms binding issues. So there was a bug opened and CPK fixed it. I don't recall the details. Incorrect data being returned for non-existent primitive data types. Yes, so if you were to save, for instance, an integer in Redis, because maybe you want to save an integer in Redis, that might be a complex integer to build, it will return always a value, so you will not be able to know if there was actually a value in the cache. So now it's fixed. Null instead of default T. From another developer. I don't know who this another developer is. Kumards. I think it's his name on Gitter and GitHub. This one, merge. Yeah, this one actually is an issue. So this one, the tenant prefix host, is to ensure that when you create a new tenant, you either provide a host or a prefix. One of the two. Apparently, well, not apparently, there is a functional test which is failing now because of that change. I haven't checked the functional test itself to see if there is an issue in the test or the implementation. But that's weird that we are creating in a functional test a tenant with nothing inside. I have to check that. This one from Matthew, fixing the order of the dynamic forms binding element driver. So yeah, they could be, because they were using the same position, apparently sometimes the one would be on top or the bottom of the other. So now there is an explicit order. This one is to render the modules list using Flex-Box. Flex-Box, a new way to flow items using CSS. If you have questions, ask Gustavo, he's the expert. James mentioned taxonomies, yeah, so fixing some wording, and there is another one I think after that. Correct. So is greater than or equal to something. And to be sure, we checked on Wikipedia and this is what they say to do. So it's true. These ones are on dev only. And merge from dev to 1.10 to dev, right? And this one is an updated PR I did. I implemented on the PR the delays exponentially. You look at the PR if you care. Okay, that's it. So that's it for the status. Questions about the changes? Then let's look at the status of the issues. I think I fixed one this morning and I merged something also which was fixing another one. So issues. 1.10, we still have this one opened, which is, so I asked Jean-Thierry some more details because there is some discussion, and oh, he answered, beautiful, 6 minutes ago. Jean-Thierry is not joining the meetings, is he? I don't think so. So, blah, blah. Oh, no, he didn't answer actually. Using the latest dev does indeed fix the issue. Okay, so this fix apparently fixes an issue, and this is in 1.10, so that should be okay for 1.10. Tokens not working with dynamic forms. Okay, I just asked Jean-Thierry if there was something to do based on that, just to check that 193 doesn't have the issue, but this seems to be good. Okay, then if I look at 1.10, just to be sure what we closed recently, can't set field properties. I think this was a false positive. Yes, Gustavo tried to, as a reminder, also tries to edit a part, and the fields he could not edit the properties. It's because in Orchard we can't edit the properties of a field at the part level. It's when attached to a type that you can edit them. I think there is an open issue for that, and also explaining what could be the solutions, because yeah, so that was not an issue. This one was kind of a scary one. So if you go to the modules page and you try to install one from the gallery, it will give you another one, not the one you want. So that's kind of very bad. It was an issue in the gallery. I fixed it. I asked for confirmation, but now it should work. Yep, the code was wrong. Get opened that, and I think also Gustavo, but on the gallery page. So now this is good. This one Gustavo fixed. This one was not an issue. This one was fixed by a PR from info from CA. The issue, we talked about it last week, or at the triage, there are now 2 text field drivers, and the code was not handling that correctly. So now it's fixed, but you could see 2 text fields when you will add a field, and I think the other ones are much longer than that, yes, so we don't care. Okay, so it looks good for 1.10. Again, so this one should be closed once I got confirmation. This one, I had a comment on Benedek to fix it, because I apparently knew how to fix it. He's the master of fixing the media library recent page now. Benedek?
It's a one-liner, so if I can push it directly to the branch, then I do it now, and we're good to go.
Okay. I said feel free to create a PR, but if you're sure about what you're doing, go ahead.
Yeah, I tested this particular fix for many different scenarios, even for the previous fixes as well. So I was playing around with these changes.
Good. Then if we can be ready today, so we can give 2 days until Thursday to be sure there is no more blocking issue, then that will be good. Okay, so that's good. So this are the only 2 remaining issues, and we know the fixes. Then, which leads me to talk about quality. I have 4 different bullet points as suggestion. So why this topic? Quality is important, right? And the issue being that for the past 8 weeks, every day there was a new blocking bug on 1.10. That was like, how come didn't we find this issue? And this morning I was trying to repro all the bugs, the blocking ones, and trying to fix them. And I worked then on the one with there was some issues with the text field, the double text field. The double text field was because there was a new driver, and so I mean, just by having the new driver, anyone who tries to add a text field will have seen that there were 2 text fields in the dropdown. So it's weird that it even passed well, we didn't see that for 2 weeks. And then when you add a new text field and you try to use the new feature, which was the default value, it doesn't work. It literally doesn't work. If you use a default value and you type something, it will use the default value and not what you typed. If you decide to put required and have so you want the value to be there, so you put required and you define default value so that if there is nothing, it uses the default value. Doesn't work. The client is blocking because it says required, so you type nothing, then the client validation will say, no, you can't submit, there is nothing, it's required. But you have a default value to be there, so the combination doesn't work. So that, also the issue about the media, the recent thing, which I broke actually. It's like it took us, it's not yet done, but it took us like 4 weeks to have something working with recent. So that's why I wanted to talk about quality and how to prevent all these issues. So ideas to improve quality about what we ship, and also to prevent breaking what we ship. First idea, signing off on features and PRs. Meaning, if someone does something on a PR or pushes directly a feature, we should have someone else try the feature or the PR, just to ensure we are not missing any obvious thing. Because when you write the code, you test what you think you changed, but you might have missed something that someone will find, like a double text field in the dropdown. That's so obvious. I mean, anyone should have caught it. So I think that might be interesting to ensure that before we merge a PR, someone actually tries the feature. So we are sure we're not regressing a lot, at least. Another idea being adding the functional tests on the PR. So this, for instance, the feature that the validation that a user added as a pull request to validate that the default tenants were not, well, had at least a host or a prefix, it faced the functional test now. And this, maybe there's an issue with the functional test, but at least we should have known before. Because we didn't have any, at least sign off, we don't know if it actually works. We just trust the guy. So maybe we should run the functional test on the PRs too. The only issue I have with that is the functional test run like during 2 hours. So if we do it on each PR, it will take a long time. If we do it also at every change of the PR, or what happens sometimes with TeamCity is that if you merge one of the PRs, it will try to rerun all the tests on all the PRs, ensuring that the first merge didn't break the PR itself. So I have to ensure that we are not running the PRs many times, but only when necessary. Or maybe only when requested. I know that on the .NET Core repository, they just type a comment in the PR to start the unit test. So it's like when we think we are ready to accept the PR, we just type a comment saying start functional test, and the CI will find this comment and run the test on the PR. So that might be a solution, actually, writing that as a note.
But if we are actually checking the functional correctness of a pull request, I mean, it should be an actual user testing and then a code review, and then if you have your own machine which is much faster than the CI, then you can run the test yourself because you have NUnit. I assume everyone has NUnit installed.
Still takes 1 or 2 hours. So on your machine, having your CPU. Oh, somebody tried to call me, and then realized, no, Daddy is at work. Don't call him. Sorry. Yeah, but at the same time, if it can be automated, it's better, and people won't spend the time to test it. And if we are, or as I said, if it's part of a sign-off, someone has to run it, even if it's not the PR author? I don't know.
But that's an interesting question, because if we instigate a rule whereby we always require somebody to sign off, isn't that like always putting the responsibility on someone else to do the testing of something that I've written?
I don't want to talk about responsibility, it's just giving a go. It might break, but at least we did that. We did a minimum.
I'm just. It's something that's bothered me for a while. I think I see a bit of a tendency sometimes for all of us to just assume that somebody else is always gonna test whatever I've written.
Yes, and
I'd like the primary point of responsibility for making sure that you test and run all the tests, and not only run the unit tests and functional testing, but also do manual testing of what you've written, should always be primarily on the author of the PR.
How do we ensure that? Because we can ask, but how do we ensure?
Well, yeah. Well, so how do we ensure that the sign-off does it?
Well, at least if someone says, I tried it and it worked for me, you see that, okay, we have two different individuals who say it works.
So,
and also having someone else doing that means maybe we'll try something differently than what you did.
That's true. I think just both needs to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So you're for asking them to ensure. So nobody suggested that. Well, actually, someone did last week. It was Rob, to have the template in the issue tracker or the PR tracker to remind them by creating a PR. You acknowledge that you have to run the unit test, you have run the functional test on that, and things like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Like a reminder. And at the same time, for the functional test, because they can be run on the CI, we can at least create a PR.
That I agree with. Whatever we can do in an automated way, we should do on the CI. I think.
It's not just about the functional test. Actually, functional test is a bonus. At least the unit test. If the unit tests don't pass, that it doesn't even go to the functional test. So and sometimes what we do break the unit test, and that's bad.
Yeah. I'm talking more about the kind of testing that you need to do manually, because not everything is covered by our functional tests in the first place.
Okay.
So how about a PR is only accepted when one of the core contributors, and I mean those people who have direct write access to the repository, so one of the core contributors has actually tried as a user and did a code review and made sure that it doesn't break any changes. So I agree that PRs and contributions are absolutely welcome from anyone, but of course there are people who know Orchard much better than other people, and these are mainly the core contributors. So these would be the people to really trust, to make sure that a PR doesn't break anything. And of course it's not a matter of It's partly a matter of responsibility, of course, because we are core contributors, but it's just a matter of knowledge of Orchard.
I think you will never get any feature if we are waiting for core contributors to sign off everything.
Well,
we should. We can rely on the community.
Like 8 or 10.
Yeah, still.
That's very
okay. I was thinking current community, so I was thinking like, no, we are 6. Okay, 8 or 10, but still. Even for instance, Jean-Thierry is not a core contributor. If he says I tried it and it works, I'm like, yeah, good.
I agree. So
at least if we have someone, I don't think we should gate it by a core contributor. I'm saying at least we should have someone else try it.
Like at least 2 people? You mean any 2 people?
Yeah. We ensure that the guy who wrote it says it works for sure, but then ensure someone tries it. I see that's what they do in the SPN and MVC team. It's kind of a burden. Honestly, I'm like, what the fuck? But they try it as a user. They will try the localization, create a PO file, write something in French and okay, it appears correctly. Okay, that's fine. It seems to work. Okay, we can go.
It will always be a burden to maintain a high level of quality. There's no two ways about it. Yeah, and then you have to sacrifice something.
I meant also a burden as from the author of a feature, that you have to wait for someone 2 or 3 days to take the time to test it.
Yeah, sure.
But
I think that's an inevitable price of quality.
So yeah, Benedek, I will not limit it to core contributors. You are still okay with having sign-off from people? And yeah, maybe also we don't have to request it for everything. Like if we see a line is just changing a typo or a simple change and it passes the unit test, then sure, let's merge it. We don't need sign-off. But if it's a new feature, some UI stuff that needs to be tested locally, we should at least try to start with things like that.
Do we have it configured this way now that the unit tests are run automatically on PRs by TeamCity? Or is that what you're looking to enable?
So I think we can enable it automatically for the unit tests on every change, every merge, because it's kind of fast. I think we should start on demand the functional test. Because I don't care if the guy runs locally or it's done by the CI, as long as it's done once. If he said, I ran the functional test successfully, good. He's sure about that, we can ask him. And then before merging it, we can start it using the CI. It will take the night, but the day after we are sure it passes the CI. Not automatically for the functional test, but at least on demand.
Sounds good to me.
For features. More functional tests. Another way to improve quality. Example, I gittered Sipke last week because I saw there was another issue on the dynamic forms with bindings or whatever, default values. It was a news feature. And actually we don't have any functional test about dynamic forms. And that's quite a big feature, actually, with lots of things that can break. So definitely we need more functional tests. Somehow they are harder and somehow easier to do than unit tests. Harder because it's a DSL, a custom language to do, and you have to understand what you can do and how it works. It's also slower to test, but easier because you directly access a running website. You just have to automate some clicks and check some text boxes, and that's it. So I think it's doable from anyone. So I'd like to see more functional tests, at least for features, to ensure we don't break features, or when we add something new, ensure that it works. The basics work, at least. Not full coverage using the functional test, but the basics. That we should have more. We haven't created some for years, I'm sure. I think Sipke created some. At least for layouts, he created some, but otherwise nobody created anymore. So I think we should create more. Even more now that we want to run them. Like for instance, theming. We can ensure that I've seen like 10 issues about theming broken from Gustavo, from Christian, that we should have code before. And this is very easy to catch with a functional test. Let's create a template and ensure that the value from the template is rendered, and then we are sure we are not breaking the template support, things like that. So yep, more functional tests, nothing to add. Then should we ask people to, maybe same thing, maybe we should ask people, please create a functional test for this PR to be merged, or please create a unit test, which is harder, but at least a functional test. I think that should, for new feature, that would be nice.
Do we mean spec flow when you say functional?
Yes. Does it mean something else to you? Can it mean something else? Sorry.
No. I was just thinking that now that we're getting more and more client-side functionality. I'm thinking about dynamic forms in the layout editor, for example. SpecFlow as a technology might not suffice anymore to cover
correct.
everything.
We will, yeah, but at least the server-side features. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yep. Abusing account permission. So, tell me if I'm wrong, Benedek and Zoltan. When I found the issue about the text field, the new driver and the default values, I'm like, this is not what Benedek or Zoltan would have pushed because it was not working. So I was wondering if it's you who wrote the code or someone else from Lombic.
It was actually me who pushed it, but it was not me who wrote it.
Okay.
But I have a responsibility. I'm not seeing the issue because I actually have tested it and reviewed it, and I wonder how I missed.
That's okay.
You explained.
We trust you, but at the same time, it was a Lombic feature, and you have write access. So I'm like, yes, we granted Zoltan and Benedek write access to the repository like a few years ago, and then you decided to use a Lombic account, which we were fine for that because you have to show off your company that you work for. And but then I was wondering, yeah, I don't think it's good that someone else from Lombic pushes directly to that because you have the right to. So you did it, which is okay. So
is only for me and Zoltan. So no, yeah.
Yeah, you pushed it, but when I saw the code, because there were issues in the behavior which was not working, and also the code itself, there are oddities that I will not see from Zoltan for sure. Like sometimes I write some code and sometimes he's like, no, that's wrong and blah blah blah, and he's very picky sometimes. And the code I saw, it was not picky at all. A double test for the same thing, and the second time more constraining than the first time. So I was like, that's weird. Also, we didn't see that at review time, probably because Zoltan, we trust you. So I'm like, I will never have to check for that if you have to push the code. So I think this was also an issue on this case. I don't say that if there was a PR with exactly the same code, we would have merged it. But we have to be sure that nobody is abusing the right access we are giving to anyone. So this is on your account. This could have been another one, but yeah, in this case I saw that. So just there is nothing to do about that than just reminding correct usage of the accounts.
Sure. And
would maybe be better to. Sorry, I was interrupting. But I was wondering, would it be maybe better to refer to using person names rather than company names?
I'd like to, but it will not have solved anything.
I was going to say the same thing actually as Sipke, because I remember we've had a couple of discussions over the past 2 years where you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every time we've sort of landed in the conclusion that we want contributions to be personal and individual rather than corporate.
Yeah, but we said that I think for the votes, but for the code contributions, we explicitly agreed that Lombic could push using the Lombic name.
Yes, we agreed on that. By the way, this is not this is a GitHub account, but we are not pushing the GitHub account. That's just the author, and we push Benedek and me. We push with our personal account since Lombic in itself doesn't have access to
there is no Lombic account which has the permissions. They both have permissions actually. So Sipke, that answers your question. This is only them, but when they write the author name, it's Lombic. So I assume we could even see.
Yeah, you can see the actual person for the commit.
Okay,
because
let
the
me check
committer and the author are two different things.
Just to see how it looks like. So you see his face. So we can see it's Benedek or whatever. So yeah, I think that's okay. It doesn't break actually the right permissions. Benedek or Zoltan pushes, it's just they're using, so even myself, I could push using the Lombic name or email.
Actually,
and using my account, and it will be under there. Let's try that. let's
Or
push
I
some
don't
crap
know,
under
because
seeker's name
the
and
login
blame him.
account is actually a group, and I am in that group, but you're not. So I don't know.
Oh,
It would be strange if it worked.
okay. I'm sure it will work.
So just so that I'm clear on what our philosophy is around this, you're saying we decided that it's okay for Lombik to push changes as or commit as Lombik, but is that a general principle that we apply? We are totally okay with corporate commits and promoting our corporate identities through the repo.
Says the guy from my deliverable.
No, because the only reason why Sipke and I don't do it is because we were under the impression that this was frowned upon.
No, I don't think so.
We explicitly talked about this before.
The reason I don't want to do it, I prefer the more personal touch of Orchard, if you will. I'm not sure how to express that, but it just feels weird that it seems like a corporate or a company is pushing code rather than, it's an open source project, and the people and those persons, they have reputation, and it feels more transparent.
There are two levels of decisions. Either we accept or not that, and then either you want to use that or not. So if we accept it, yes, they are free to do that. And if you accept it, you are free to still use your name and not hide a revealable, because maybe for you it's more important. And look at Microsoft. At Microsoft, there is not a Microsoft account which pushes to the GitHub. It's everyone's account. And still the license is to Microsoft, and everything we commit using the CLA is for Microsoft in the name of Microsoft. So it's a decision to use a user account. And so it's two issues: we agree or not, and then if we agree, it's about the user to decide if he wants to push under his name or his company. So the question is, do we agree that or not? And I think
makes sense. So back at the time we agreed that it would be fine if people want to commit as a company, then that's supported, that's allowed, and then of course it's up to each individual to do that or not. When Daniel and I had this discussion whether we should do it as well, we concluded that we didn't want to, or at least I didn't want to, and that's of course my decision. But yeah, whenever when I browse through the code and I see the commit history, I see the name Lombik, and it's not a person. The name Lombik, it's not a person. It's a company, and it just feels weird. But that's of course a personal taste. And I'm just wondering if that's something we want now that we are, we're a few months after that decision, or even a year, I don't know. If we could vote again, then I would vote against allowing this. It's more of a gut feeling than anything else. I can't rationally explain why I think that's better.
The reason we are doing this is actually something that the company produces. So of course people are writing the code, but this is something Lombik pays for, and this is not necessarily code that Benedek or me write. So when I'm committing something, that's not necessarily something that I have written, but somebody else from Lombik, with Lombik time and resources, of course. So
that's the third question then. That's the third question. Should you use your write access to commit something from someone else? I should review it, and if you yes, I would say yes, but that could be discussion.
It's the same from even if I commit with my individual username, I can still commit something that someone else wrote theoretically.
That's what I'm saying. You own it and you take the responsibility. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that means you also put your name on it.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed also from them to use the Lombik name. I mean, as he said, it's Lombik is paying the bill.
Yeah, and it's actually our company and our name is on the commit, so we are at least on the committer, if not in the author. And you are cheating on the commit numbers here, I see, but I don't care. And actually, all of our commits that that is written by someone else in Lombic is always going through code review. So we never hand out anything without code review.
And just to fight, iDeliverable has twice as many lines of codes and commits. Well, 4 times commits than Lombic. But you don't see that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so
well, the reason I raised the question, all I wanted to know is what is the rule and what is the consensus.
yeah.
So,
Well, the current rule now, you know, the question is, so if Sipke, you want to open a new vote, you are the dictator. You can even, no, you can't overrule everyone's vote. But
No,
And
in
if
case
a
there's
tie,
tie, I
then
can.
Sipke can
Yeah.
overrule, actually.
okay, thank you. So if you want to reopen the vote
I actually want to reopen that vote.
I think
now, no,
Or next time. Why don't, there's
Next
no
time?
rush.
Okay.
But
I
But
can
it is
put it
something
on
that's been on my mind for a while, so I think it's
Okay.
good to, if we could revisit that decision.
no, then it's in French, so in English is that. No, then 8, well, 3 plus 7 is 10, but 8 plus 7 is 15. Vote, should we accept any?
And just to be clear, I'm not against promoting a company's name, not at all. But I personally, I would prefer to see the person who puts his name with that commit to have that more visible.
So I'm not sure about the pointers because you can see it. It's visible.
Yeah,
There's a
sure.
feature.
So
Yeah,
that's
don't
good.
worry.
I didn't realize that if I really want to, I can actually, like you just saw on GitHub, I can actually see the name. I didn't see that within Visual Studio, and I'm not seeing that in the commit history itself.
So
But maybe I
what's
didn't look
actually-
hard enough. Because
what
if
universe you
that's
can-
the case, then there's no issue at all. Because then it's already associated with a person.
Yeah, so if the idea is to put the name of the person first, you can still have the company appear with the email address that you're using for the commit.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Oh,
at
doing the opposite
Microsoft.
actually.
At Microsoft, we are. We must use our Microsoft email when we do a commit.
You must.
When we're when committing something that is when we're committing something as a Microsoft contribution, yes.
I didn't know. I'm not doing that.
You're not.
Well,
Maybe that's specific to my team. I don't know. But,
yeah, I've never heard about that. But for instance, Luis has 2 accounts. Microsoft.
yeah. Well, actually, I have different Git clients set up differently with different emails. I have a number of personal projects, and for those personal projects, I use my personal email, and for the Microsoft projects, I use the Microsoft email.
When you push, okay, good, interesting, because I know in Git, what's happening? Okay, I know in GitHub you can configure which is your primary email address with so this I do. So I receive for my own projects on my personal email account and for my work project. But if I look at my commit here, and I'm sure can I see the email from there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. If you click on click on your name here,
it goes to my profile. It doesn't go to the commit.
your profile. If you look from Gitext, maybe you'll see it.
Yep, for sure. So then it's using Gitext, so I'm sure, oh, maybe I can use, that's a good question. So if I go there and I go on the commit, I can see it's my personal email account. And then if I go on MVC, for instance, and I go there, I can see that it's also my personal. Okay, so you see we don't have this rule at Microsoft, at MVC. But I should change it, and maybe I can change it actually per repository configuration.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is a solution for that. I should do that, yeah. Okay, good.
It's good practice, even if it's not necessarily an ironclad rule.
So Bertrand is kind of suggesting that if we could do the opposite, have Benedict's face but Lombic in the email.
Yeah, that would mean that the Lombic user account should have access to the repository, because otherwise we can't push. Because that would then mean that the Benedict in this case is the author and Lombic is the user who pushes.
No, well, you can still use benedict@lombic.com and have the logo from that, because you can do that. It's a gravatar.
Yeah, that would mean that Benedict's personal email address now gets a Lombic logo as the avatar.
Yep, okay. Think about it, you have 1 week. I'm sure you will find solutions, or just vote for the current state. Okay, done with this discussion. Let's take the week to think about it, if you care. Did I miss anything? Okay, anything else on this topic about quality? So that could be improved or not?
I have one thought around this also. When it comes to PRs, as you know, you call me the formatting police.
No, did I?
You did last meeting. Oh, because Daniel the formatting police.
Okay. Nice accent.
Yeah, because I care about these things, as you know. I was wondering if there's any way to, you wrote fxcop, if there's any way to automate a check for some of the more common formatting mistakes that people make, like using tabs instead of spaces and using lowercase string for the class name, stuff like
braces.
Isn't fxcop kind of last century?
Yes, probably.
There are Roslyn analyzers now that you can use, and that are free, and that behave pretty much like the ReSharper analyzers.
Yep, then maybe we should do that. Same thing. We could even do that at build time on Visual Studio so that people see that before committing. Okay, maybe that. I think that should be a good practice, because again, there was a pull request last week that was actually updated with change requests, requested changes, and by committing a new thing, they broke the formatting. So we have the ReSharper file, we have the ReBracer file. Now, okay, we have the tools to help you to have that. We should also ensure that, or enforce that, because we will enforce it at review time. So let's enforce it before review time. It won't be a waste of time. So I think we should do that. So let's ask the formatting police to look into that.
I'd be happy to.
He'd be happy to. Will you pay us to be able to do that?
Me pay you?
Yeah. When if you're happy to, or
for the pleasure, huh?
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, let's look at it. Roslyn analyzers and whatever it means. For me, it just means something in Visual Studio that can run on the background and helps you see things. I don't know if it can be static analyzer too, like at build time.
Yeah, it's both actually. It's using the Roslyn technology to analyze your code, and there are extensibility points that people can use to implement their own analysis. And the way it works is that both at compile time and while you're writing your code, you get errors for violations, and you get the little drop down next to the code that actually does fix your code.
Does it support XML files?
No.
No, because XML doesn't go through Roslyn. So.
Yeah, and I think you can even decide per analyzer which severity level you want.
Okay, and another issue that will appear is that the first time you will run it, you will see all the current issues, and that's more commits for you. That's the benefit.
Yeah,
more visibility.
I think if the analyzer includes a fix, there's a way to apply it to the whole solution also.
You think?
Like,
Probably,
yeah.
with Roslyn, probably actually. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
So let's try that. Okay, good. So on my side, I will look into the CI thing. Maybe there should be some documentation about how to write spec flow. Maybe that, and also I was feeling. So this morning I asked someone to squash their commits, and again when I wrote it I was like, maybe they don't know how to do it and it's not easy, so we should have a link somewhere with a page on how to squash. Last time Sipke or someone referenced my explanation from another PR, but we should have it in documentation, probably on the contribution guidelines that we already have with PRs. I will also work on that.
You know, Visual Studio Online just introduced a checkbox for that. When you merge a PR, you can squash it by just checking a checkbox, which is very convenient.
So a single documentation page to explain squashing and what squashing and what. I had two things in mind when I saw that. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Good. Can we have a demo, Gustavo, of what you all did? But mostly you, I assume, and Jasmin?
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen.
Let me give you the right to share your screen. Ha ha ha. Oh, yes, because you don't use your name. No, I was looking at Gustavo. There is no Gustavo. Oh, it's not. Where are you?
It's my last name, first name, T.
Oh, now it's always changing.
Yeah, that would be Skype for Business versus the plugin.
So this, and while you are, I won't stop. So while you are there, if you guys go on Gitter, there's a room, this one, that they are using to exchange, to talk about. Look at that, Jasmin. Sharing some stuff, and sad dogs, you see. And it even works when you sleep, because I can see the notifications at night. Like this morning it was 3 a.m., something like that for me, so maybe 6 for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what they are sending screenshots and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, please share now.
Alright. Now I know when you can see my desktop. Now I have it's a big screen, so it might be slow on updating.
So you remember last week, for everyone, we talked, was it last Tuesday or last Thursday? Whatever. We looked at WordPress to see how they were handling the... So was it Thursday or Tuesday?
I can't remember. It might have been Thursday.
Okay. So for those who were not there, Thursday, we looked at WordPress to see how they were handling the touch-friendly buttons, and actually Gustavo is showing it in the new WordPress admin, because the old one is uglier than Orchard, for that matter, to how the content item summaries are displaying the actions, the extra actions, and how touch-friendly they are. And what we found out is that what is showing is just a summary view of a content item, and you see the buttons at the bottom with the main actions. They are big, and they are the common actions, and you have the less common actions as small icons or maybe more.
Yeah, so actually I noticed this on the pages, the less common actions are a drop-down.
We talked about it, I think, also on Thursday. I was mentioning one of the boxes could be the 3 dots to expand that. So, yeah. So show us.
So I was playing around. Where are we? So here's the blog post index page, which I'm still working on. But uncommon action clone, and then you have preview, publish, edit, delete. I mean, they're really wide because it's Flex-Box. You know, on a regular screen, or I guess not regular screen, but on a screen without as much width, the buttons look pretty good. Does that show up for everybody? Did my screen catch up to my voice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that's great when there's 4 buttons there or more than 4, but when I'm looking at content items, I have 2 buttons here because of how the content item syntax is set up. And then in the actions, I have 3 actions: view, unpublished, clone, depending on the content. And those are all going to be dynamic. So my thought was maybe we can make these somewhat like a placement zone or something along those lines, and the user can define where their action should appear.
Well, they will be able, whatever you decide, there are 2 zones, so they will be able to place them. What I was suggesting on Thursday, maybe you forgot about it.
No, I have a 3rd button here that has the drop down.
No, I wasn't talking about that. But maybe you don't like the idea, is to have touch-friendly buttons, so big buttons compared to links, like square ones, on the right, using 2 columns, for instance. And actions is just one of the other buttons with 3 dots. So when you click, you see like on WordPress, the other actions. So you will have boxes, buttons on the right, which are stacked.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So instead of how they are here...
Like the menu on the left. You see the menu on the left? With the icons, the admin menu?
I understand what you're saying. So instead of having the buttons be horizontal, they're stacked on the right, and it's their own column.
Yeah, they can be squared with icons if we want, and the advanced one is 3 dots to have more actions. So this way we still have the same ones as you have at the bottom, like in WordPress, but on the right. So it's better with a large UI like we do, and they can still react to being stacked vertically when we are on small devices.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but what that's going to do is for something like this that has 5 different buttons. These buttons would be on the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. So each row is going to be a lot taller, right? It's going to be the default button height times 5.
No, it can be columns. You can use columns. You can have 2 or 3 rows max if you want, and you can add more using the width. So first line you will have 1, 2, 3, then second line 1, 2, 3, and the third one is just 3 buttons to say more actions, like optional actions, like a drop down.
Yeah, I'm having trouble picturing what you're saying.
So you mean like a wrapping stack, sort of, Sebastian?
Yeah.
Where you start laying them out vertically, and then when you reach 4, you just build to another column. Then
you limit vertically the number of buttons you want. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. It's UI choice, and then you stack them on the right, more columns if you have more. But at the same time,
quite easy to do with the Flex-Box.
Yeah, but you should not have you should not have more buttons than what you have today for the primary actions. I'm not asking you to add more buttons, just stack them on the right instead of the bottom.
Yeah, I like that.
And the actions drop down could be yet another button with the 3 dots like in WordPress.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take a look at that. No.
I can send you a drawing I could do on paper.
That would actually be fine. That would be sufficient. That would be totally fine. But yeah, this is committed to that branch. Sipka's got a...
It looks nice, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I can definitely do the buttons on the right-hand side. X height.
And what we talked about also on Thursday, and it was also an idea from Gustavo, he showed us from another website where if you look at the toolbar or the filter bar, whatever you want to call it, sometimes on some screens we have too much stuff, it doesn't fit the screen. And what he showed was an example where we will have, again, the common filters, like just the search box and whatever we want, or the bulk actions. And again, like in WordPress, a button with 3 dots for advanced view. So when you click, it expands and shows the other choices for filtering. This way we have the most common things available and nice in the filter, and when we click expand, it's multi-line and we can have more things. So you did multi-line actually, which is good, but you see what I mean, like being able to expand it. You showed it last week. So I think it was very nice too.
Yeah, I need to see if I can. I'm going to look at that.
You see what I mean? Optional sections, because we don't want to see all these options all the time. but we want to be able to show more options, because if it's always shown, then you will be, when you want to add something, you will be like, no, I won't add it because it will make the screen too ugly. But if it was optional, then you will not be blocked by that. You're like, oh, it's optional, so if people want to see, they will just click on option, and it will expand, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that we haven't really come to a complete solution was how to have these pagers. Because my thought was the pagers could be in the panel footer. Same thing with action buttons. So you see here how there's a color change. So this pager's in the panel footer. But that doesn't work when you're just using the default pager shape, because you can't define, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, you can't define where the pager appears. Mm-hmm. If I go to blogs, manage blogs.
Yes, because they're in the views, I understand, they're not a shape.
Yeah. Yeah, list posts. So here's the default pager. You see how that breaks out of the panel? I don't know if my theme or the UI caught up yet. But down here it breaks out of the panel because it's part of the shape, but it's not part of the list. So I mean, these are just some of the problems that we're just trying to work around. And one of the things that is actually starting to concern me a little bit is a lot of the changes require changes to the syntax and how we're actually editing the views. The style sheets themselves, we're keeping them pretty much the same, and we're just doing overrides in the theme, and that's fine. But when we're actually editing the views, the core views and whatnot, I'm concerned that we're going to have problems merging back into dev because of, the dev branch is however many 100 commits ahead of this branch.
Gustavo, don't worry about that too much, because I will regularly merge in dev into this branch, so we'll maintain this, and once in a while there will be a view change in the dev branch, but we'll accommodate for that. We won't wait too long until the next merge in from dev into this feature branch.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that works then. All right.
Good.
Good.
Well, that's great.
Good.
Yeah.
I started working on the media library.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's rendering nice. Like this is, I mean, I have that bug yet, but still, like this is all. It's fitting now. It's not all broken, but there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be edited.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much. Questions? Well, I will get back the screen just for security. So
Yeah.
I don't see things we don't show. Magento admin. I don't know. Cool. Okay, on the topic side, we are done. Demos are done. I didn't ask anyone else for demos, but there is no more time, so maybe next week. Questions, comments before we wrap up the meeting?
Can we briefly talk about that OpenID thing? Is it something that...
Briefly will be hard.
Okay, so next week?
Yes, I can put it on the agenda. Just talk about it if you want, just to explain what we want to talk about it next week.
Well, actually, I'm not sure I understand what this is about. So we have some OpenID modules on the gallery, but there is a more recent OpenID thing that's called OpenID Connect, which seems to be what everybody's using nowadays, but I know almost nothing about that. So,
but Gustavo knows everything,
okay.
And he's not the only one, because he's been also working with some other guys on Gitter and exchanging PRs.
So the question is basically, should we support this out of the box in the core? Since it's a very, very common way of authenticating users.
So OpenID Connect is just a method of OAuth and authentication. You can support it technically out of the box as having Orchard be a client of an IDP. Are you talking about Orchard being a client or an identity provider, an OpenID Connect provider?
I don't know. That's a request that came in this morning through an email conversation, and frankly, I don't know the details.
Okay.
And, yeah, so I don't know. It seemed like something that we should talk about. I'm kind of embarrassed because I don't know the details, but the general question is there something here that we need to support in core?
What is good is that you have a week to learn everything.
Yeah, but I don't have time during that week. That's the thing.
It's okay. Okay. So I have a week.
Okay. Well, we can talk about it next week. Or just reach me on Gitter and maybe we can do a side conversation there too.
Okay. Yeah, I see some ideas. There's a link from Antoine. It's opening in IE. Weird.
Yeah, that link is actually a really cool navigation pattern where the items that don't fit into the navigation fall into a dropdown. I haven't found anything that allows you to do that without JavaScript. I've seen some CSS implementations, but they're kind of hokey.
That's fine. We accept JavaScript, I think. We require JavaScript.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon AWS does it too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about it.
People who disable JavaScript should die. No?
That's mean.
Okay.
They already did.
Do you think Donald Trump is using JavaScript?
Who could realistically even use the web today without it? I wonder. What would you do?
Yeah, I don't know. Text readers? I don't know.
Yeah.
George, question for you. Do you require JavaScript on your website?
That was a rhetorical question, right?
What? No. Do you actually require JavaScript on your website? Requiring mean you need JavaScript.
We require it. I mean, any website that uses Angular, you know.
Oh.
Spas. Yeah.
But yeah, the front end, yeah. Even on the front end, you require JavaScript. Oh, well, there is another question. Well, we'll talk about it next week. Crap. Menu JavaScript. Next week. I wanted to ask you 2 weeks ago, and I forgot, and now I need to ask you. Menu JavaScript. Good. Okay, good for now. Thanks, everyone. See you on Thursday with a new build.
Awesome.
Bye.
See you Thursday.
Bye, guys.
Later, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.